etiquette. Okay. We all remember as we were growing up, your mom used to tell you, don't talk with your mouth full, keep your elbows off the table. Grandma would yell at you, sit up straight, don't slouch. But as we've gotten older, there are several more rules of dinner etiquette that you probably don't know about. For instance, did you know that there's a way to tell your server that you're finished with your meal without ever having to say a word? Or did you know why the fork is on the left when everything else at your dinner setting is obviously set for a right-handed person? I never knew a lot of these things until I became employed at the Kokomo Country Club about 6.5 years ago. Since then, I've learned an incredible amount about dinner etiquette. Today, I'm going to tell you why dinner etiquette is something that you should know, not only for a formal dinner, but just in life in general. And I'm also going to give you a quick walkthrough of a dinner service and along the way give you some of the key do's and don'ts of dinner etiquette. Table manners can say a lot about you, and they can convey to others how you conduct yourself in other settings. According to What's Cooking America, the whole point of etiquette rules is to make you feel comfortable, not uncomfortable. One of the biggest reasons you should know why dinner etiquette is so important is because of interviews and seminars. Along the way in your career life, you may be invited to interviews which are at a dinner setting. According to Virginia Tech, employers may want to see you in a more social situation to see how you conduct yourself, particularly in the job for which you are interviewing requires a certain standard of conduct with clients and superiors. In many jobs, you may have to take clients out to dinner, and the clients may perceive the company according to how you conduct yourself at dinner. And for those of you who are a little bit younger, believe it or not, a date is also an interview. Upon your arrival at dinner, you should be prompt and courteous. 10 minutes early is always a good rule of thumb. According to Virginia Tech, you should wait for your interviewer host to ask you to sit down before taking your seat. If he or she does not ask you to sit, you should wait for him or her to be seated and then follow their lead. According to What's Cooking America, the first thing you do after you have your seat is to pick up your napkin and gently place it in your lap. You should never shake it open. The whole point of dinner is to be graceful and discreet. You should wait for all of the other guests to arrive before you order your beverages. If you have a glass of water on the table, you may quietly sip from that, but don't order your beverage until everyone has arrived. The good rule of thumb is that water, tea, and juice are your safe choices. You want to avoid alcohol because you want to stay sharp and alert during the entire dinner, especially if it's an interview. Now that the meal has begun, there are some key things to remember. When you go to order, you want to have an idea ahead of time of what you want to order in case you may have to place your order more quickly. You don't want to appear indecisive to the people at your table. According to Virginia Tech, you want to order simple foods, things that can be eaten in small bites with a knife and fork. All of your utensils should work from the outside in. So the first course should be eaten with the first fork, and the outside spoon would be for your coffee. Anything solid should be on your left, so your bread and butter plate will be on your left. Anything liquid would be on your right, so your water glass, your beverage glass, your coffee cup. You want to wait for all of your guests to be served when the meal arrives before you begin eating. And you also want to wait for your host. Your host is your leader, so you always follow their lead. As soon as the host picks up his fork and knife, then you may pick up yours. According to Robert Chlasky of the College of Business of the University of Missouri, the correct way to cut your meat is to grasp your knife and fork in a natural, relaxed manner. This means that you should hold them delicately along your plate, not hold your fork up like this and jab your food. Virginia Tech says that by taking very small bites during dinner, you can quickly finish and swallow the bite before speaking. This is especially good rule of thumb if you're in the middle of an interview or if people are asking you a lot of questions. If you don't get all the way finished with your meal by the time everyone else is, don't worry about it. Just let it go. The entire point of the dinner is the social interaction, not the meal itself. If your server happens to bring you a side dish that you didn't order or it's the wrong side dish, don't say anything. You want to be as discreet as possible. You don't want to call any extra attention to yourself. When you are finished with your meal, there are ways to communicate this to your server. And this is especially important if you happen to be attending dinner at a seminar or in the middle of an interview, or if someone at your table is telling a great story and you don't want to interrupt the story. According to What's Cooking America, it is inappropriate to stack your dishes or to push them off to the side. The proper way to do this, to signal to your server, is when you are finished with your dinner, you take your utensils and you lay them across your plate with the handles as close as possible inside the plate. And according to all of my sources, the tops of the utensils should be pointed in the 10 o'clock position. Something that I have learned at the country club is that you can also take your fork, especially if it's the only utensil you have, and place it tines down on the plate, also pointing to the 10 o'clock position. This will let your server know that you are finished eating, and your server can take your plate without ever having to ask you or interrupt you. In conclusion, your table manners can say a lot about you. If you know how to conduct yourself properly, you can convey a good message and a good reputation for your company. I know this is a lot to remember, so just remember these key points. You want to remain clean. You want everything to remain clean at your table setting. You want to remain extremely discreet. Don't call any extra attention to yourself. And you want to be polite and gracious. Always remember to say please and thank you, and be gracious to your host. If your host does something that doesn't conform to the rules, don't point it out. Just follow the host's lead and you'll do fine. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.